Welcome to the Vaal University of Technology, Sebokeng campus. We are here for the Women Dialogue with the theme Beyond Hidden Figures to Global Impact for Limitless Future. My name is Kgomotso Mtshatsheni, ke setlogolo sa bashabi, ngwetsi ya Bataung ba Ramogele. I am a senior lecturer in the Department of Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering in the Faculty of Engineering and Technology. I wish to welcome you on this wonderful afternoon. And for people who are not from around the Vaal, this is exactly the weather we ordered, a very cold one, because we knew that there would be some people who would be bringing warmth to this side of Gauteng, the southern part of the province. And as the sole university that is offering programs in science and technology, we wish to welcome you during the launch of the National Science Month. As part of the activities, we are very fortunate to be afforded the opportunity to host a women dialogue, whereby we know that as women, we have a very faint voice in decision-making processes. But today, we have been granted that permission to sit, and we acknowledge the brothers who are here with us to come and listen to us because we cannot speak to ourselves. So welcome on this afternoon. We will start with our program. We have some great speakers who are expertise in science and technology. They will be here to share with us what they are working on, to inspire us, to encourage us, and to simply lay out the foundation of the theme for this National Science Month for South Africa. So welcome on this afternoon. First on our program, we have Dr. Mokondeleli Grace Kanakana Katumba, who is our Deputy Vice Chancellor for Teaching and Learning at the Vaal University of Technology. Dr. Mokondeleli Grace Kanakana Katumba is an accomplished academic, experienced administrator, and proud engineering technologist. She has a track record of visionary leadership and a heart deeply invested in human development. She has an academic background in industrial engineering. She is a registered professional technologist with the Engineering Council of South Africa, and she has over 17 years of higher education, whereby she has held leadership roles. I would like to welcome you, Doc. Thank you.
You can say. Oh, can I use the podium? Oh, okay. Anyway, I hope we are not yet live streaming because what I did there is not the nature of a DVC. Thank you, Program Director Dr. Hense. Allow me to start by acknowledging Dr. Mamuletsi Masia, Managing Director of NRF SASTA, our distinguished panelists. I will start by our very own facilitator, Dr. Mtshatsheni, and then Dr. Pulane, Molokwane, who's our nuclear physicist. I don't know if people know our panelists, or maybe when I mention them, you can just do your hands. I know you're going to introduce yourself later. And then Ms. Andy Mampe, who is a farm and owner manager. Dr. Tara Walmsley, who's a biotechnologist. And then Professor, obviously, Anneke de Klerk, who's our very own creative research and a photographer. And allow me to also welcome all the other distinguished guests which are available here among us. Some of them are representative from the government, from industry and academia. Allow me to welcome our students. Students, are you there? Yes. So I can hear that. And ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's really my honor and privilege to welcome you to our Vaal University of Technology as we officially launch the Women Dialogue in celebration of this National Science Month. On behalf of our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Ndlovu, and our University Council, Senate, management, staff, and students, I extend a warm welcome to every one of you. We are truly honored to host you, or to host this important dialogue at the VUT Southern Gauteng Science and Technology Park. This year's National Science Month theme is Science for Everyone. It carries a powerful message. It reminds us that science will never be viewed as or as preserved for the select few. Science belongs to every community, every person, every entrepreneur, every educator, and every citizen who seek to improve life through knowledge and innovation. Science is not only about laboratories and complex equations. It's about solving challenges that affect our daily lives. It enables us to improve healthcare, strengthen food security, develop sustainable energy solutions, modernize manufacturing, and protect our environment and build stronger economies. Yet, if science is truly for everyone, then everybody must have an equal opportunity to participate and lead innovation. That is why today's dialogue, I think, is very important, because our theme, it says beyond hidden figures, right? To global impact for limitless future. So I think this theme, it challenges us to move beyond recognizing the achievement of women in science, and it calls us to create an environment where women are not simply participants in science discovery, but they are leaders in research and innovation, entrepreneurship, policy influencers, and global change makers. Around the world, women has continued to make remarkable contribution across every scientific discipline. They are developing new medicines, advancing renewable energy technologies, improving agricultural productivity, obviously driving digital transformation, and creating solutions for some of human's greatest challenges. I believe that when women succeed in science, the benefits extend far beyond the laboratories and industry. They stretch to industries, they inspire future generation, they create more inclusive innovation, they contribute to economy. And as they say, if you educate a woman, you educate what? A nation. And of course, we transform communities. So perhaps most importantly, we become role models for young girls who begin to believe that we too can become engineers, can become physicists, can become computer scientists, and we can become entrepreneurs. So I believe that today's dialogue, or the panel sitting here, they will help us to reflect on this diversity of excellence. I believe that the panelist is very well-rounded. We've got colleagues from nuclear physics to biotechnology, agriculture, creative research. So our speakers demonstrate the scientific leadership that has no boundaries. So their story reminds us that innovation flourishes when different perspectives and different experiences come together. So ladies and gentlemen, as a University of Technology, VUT, we recognize that our responsibility extends beyond awarding qualification. We exist to generate knowledge, to solve societal problems, to contribute to our economic development through research, innovation, and partnership. Therefore, our institution strategy positions VUT as a digitally smart, innovative-driven, and socially responsible university that prepare graduates for industries of tomorrow while contributing meaningful solutions to the challenges of today. So I think this dialogue aligns very well with our vision, and we are committed to building an inclusive research culture, strengthening partnership with industry, government, developing future-ready graduates, and promoting entrepreneurship, whereby creating opportunities for women and young people to thrive in science, engineering, and technology. So where we are at the Science Park. So the Science Park reflects this commitment. The VUT Science Park is more than just infrastructure. It is a catalyst for innovation and regional development. It provides a platform for researchers, for students, entrepreneurs, and government and industry to collaborate to develop practical solutions that address local challenges while contributing to national development plan. As a university located at the heart of the Vaal Triangle, one of South Africa's biggest important or industrial region, we see ourselves as an engine for scientific advancement in the greater Vaal region and beyond. So our role is to support industry through applied research, stimulate entrepreneurship through innovation, develop scarce technical skills, commercialize that research output, and build partnerships that improve lives of our community. Whether through advanced manufacturing, or renewable energy, digital technologies, or our hydrogen center, our collaboration with industry and government, VUT is committed to ensuring that scientific knowledge translates into real societal impact. This is how we make science accessible. This is how we ensure that science is truly for everybody. So ladies and gentlemen, as we begin today's dialogue, let us embrace that the future of science depends on the opportunities we create today. Somewhere in this audience sits the future scientists who will discover a breakthrough technology. The next may be Mark Zuckerberg. A future engineer who will develop cleaner energy technologies. A future entrepreneur who will establish industries that create employment. Or maybe a future president. How do we know? Our responsibility is to ensure that they have the opportunity and that we support them and that we inspire them to achieve greatness. So let today's discussion inspire collaboration, challenge stereotypes, create new partnerships, and encourage more women, particularly young women, to pursue a career in science and innovation. Together, we can build a future where science is accessible and inclusive and transformative, and that a future where talent has no bounds, and that a future where no talent is hidden and every innovation has an opportunity to change the world. So with those few words, I officially welcome you to this Women Dialogue and Science Month celebration. And I wish that we have an engaging, insightful, and impactful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you to our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ganagana Katumba. Every one of us here has been taught something scientific in the household, especially by women, whether it is an aunt or a mother or a grandmother. We have been taught how to cook. Cooking on its own is science. We've been taught how to clean. That on its own is science. And we see that if we transfer the knowledge and skill, then we become better people. Science is for everyone. Now we imagine a future whereby a nuclear scientist will teach more female learners, more young girls how to become nuclear scientists. We foresee a future whereby a technologist will transfer the skill to the young ones, and now we are talking about females. And today we come in with a little bit of knowledge and perhaps just the definition of what science and technology is, but we are going to learn how it can be applied in practice in order to better our lives. Next up on the program, we have Dr. Mamweletsi Musia. She is the Managing Director of NRF SASTA, and this is responsible for public awareness, appreciation, and engagement of science, technology, engineering, and innovation, STEMI. She is going to speak to us about just setting the tone, highlighting the importance of the National Science Month, and even further. I would like to invite you to the podium, Dr. Musia. She has a PhD in chemistry, which is in the sciences, and she has done quite a lot of leadership or held quite a lot of leadership roles, as well as working in the Council for Science and Innovation Research. Welcome.
When I am led, I follow. Prof, you led. It's very easy for us to stand behind. It hides the nervousness. Thank you so much, Kenzie. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me. I am a servant of the nation, and I am sent by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation to come and tell you, maybe as a start, what's the fuss, what is the fuss all about us being here and deciding to come to the Vaal to launch the first ever National Science Month. Maybe just to go a little bit backwards, in 2015, the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation put together what we call the Science Engagement Strategy. Our government sees the value of South Africans knowing about science. And from very early on in 1996 in the white paper, the idea of having a society that's knowledgeable about science has always been very important. And we've continued to champion science engagement. So the main aims of the science engagement strategy is to have a South Africa that is knowledgeable about science, that is science literate, and it is able to form its independent views about science. Whenever I talk about a society being able to form independent views about science, I always think about COVID. I think for me, COVID has given me so many examples. Whenever I talk about the importance of science engagement, I think about COVID. During the COVID time, there was a time when we needed to vaccinate, and there were those who were pro-vaccination, and there were those who were very hesitant and against vaccination. And a lot of those were asking questions, but why did they do this so quickly? Where is this vaccine coming from? And that is the example of being able to form independent opinions, because the people who were asking these questions were not scientists. They were just your lay person in a taxi. They were saying, yeah, we must go vaccinate. They were like, but why did they do it so quickly? Funny enough, when we vaccinate our kids, we don't ask the questions. We don't even ask where this vaccine is coming from. But when adults now needed to vaccinate, we were suddenly asking, where is the vaccine coming from? But that is what we need. We need, whenever there is something that is new, whenever there is something, right now we have a new AIDS prevention drug. We need to be talking about it. We need to be saying, yeah, finally we're getting there as a country. Not so long ago, there was a publication that was talking about toxins in our sanitary ware. We need to have a conversation about it to say, should we be stressing about it? Is there anything that we need to make noise about? Or are the ppms of those toxins that low that scientists were reporting their work, and maybe it's nothing to be alarmed about? But because we don't take the time to have these conversations, then the DSTI then decided, you know what, we probably need to make noise about science. And over the past 20 or so years, we were celebrating National Science Week. And last year, the minister said, no, talking about science for 1 week is not enough. As of 2026, we want to talk about science for the whole month. We started on the 1st, we've had radio interviews, we've had webinars. We will just be talking science for the next month. But why are we bothering with talking science? Oskinzi spoke about how we want the young ones to see science and see it in action. And the DVC also spoke about it. Why do we want to talk about science? I said earlier on that we want to have South Africa science literate. But we will not be able to have South Africa knowledgeable about science if the researchers, where they are white lab coats. I'm a chemist, so I am one of those that used to wear white lab coats. A lot of the other scientists are not the ones who wear lab coats, but yeah, allow me to talk about the one that I know. So we wear our lab coats, we wear our safety glasses, we go to the lab, we do this brilliant science. And then we write our articles in high impact journals that are read by the only people who are like us, who wear white coats and goggles and safety goggles, and that's it. We never get to tell society about the work that we are doing. During COVID, once again, the South African scientists were able to isolate Omicron. And the world was like, yeah, no, this thing is coming from South Africa. No, it wasn't coming from us. It's just that we have very, very brilliant scientists who were able to isolate this thing. But we do not frame it that way. We do not highlight the successes of South African scientists. We do not highlight the good that we are doing as a country so that South Africans are able to say, oh, cooking is a science. I didn't know that. Oh, when we were growing up, what's the date now? So this is the month-end weekend. So month-end was on Tuesday. So during our time, parents would have gotten paid on Tuesday, and they would have gotten a rectangular paper that has an amount on it, and the department and everything. And then on Saturday, tomorrow, we would not be coming here, we would be going to a bank to go and cash this paper so that there is money at home. Our children don't know what a bank is. They just pass it. They pass FNB and Absa and Standard Bank. They just pass it. But we don't, my mother does not associate her not going to the bank anymore with science and technology. We don't make that linkage. And that's a problem. Because then if we fail to make that linkage to the educators sitting here, we will always have a problem of maths literacy. We will always have a problem of maths literacy because a parent would say, but why do you want to do that maths? What are you going to do with it? Because they do not see the value of science. So during this month, we will be talking all things science, technology, and innovation. And I'm very excited that we have ladies here who will be talking all things science, technology, and innovation, and telling us the brilliant work that they are doing that is actually putting them in the global spaces. We're talking about beyond hidden figures to global impact for limitless future. Beyond hidden figures. When I was at varsity, I was taught by males only. The whole chemistry faculty was males. 3, 4, 5 white males and 1 black male. Only. Where were the women then? Was it because they were not brilliant? They were not, what was happening? I'm not gonna say when. When was I at university? But yeah, that was the situation then. But we're moving beyond that. We are now here. We are now here where we're having 4 ladies here who are going to come and talk to us about the work that we are doing. We are now here where we have a DVC who is a black female. During my time, that was unheard of. And one of the reasons why we support this program as part of National Science Month is so that all the young ladies sitting here get to say, oh, so it's possible. Oh, they said, I'm sure it was booking. Oh, okay. So someone from where I come from, Setlogole Sabasia, Liena, she can be. Oh, I thought I was going to end at the degree only. No, I am pushing, I am going on. I'm going to do my honors, masters, NQF, 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 NQF. Because you saw that it is possible. During our time, we didn't see that it is possible. Now we are the ones who were kankani. We were doing it kankani. Whether it's possible or not, we were going to do it. But for you guys, we are here to show you that it is possible. We want you to move behind being hidden futures. We want you to be in the forefront. And that is why we are here today. I hope you'll be inspired by the ladies sitting here today. Their stories should actually inspire you. If there's a nuclear physicist who's a black female, what can stop you? What can stop you? And then we had to go get one in agriculture. Agriculture is for males. We know agriculture to be that for males. But if there is a lady who is working in the agricultural field, what is stopping you? What is it that you woke up in the morning and you've been telling yourself, it is not for me. No, it is difficult. No, it is possible. No, I come from the rural areas. No this, no this, no that. Today we are here to tell you all the barriers that you've been putting for yourself. We are breaking them today. Because all of us here had so many barriers that we had to break. And we are here to tell you, it might not be the one that you are faced with today. It might be completely different to the one that I was faced with. But the mere fact that I broke mine, she broke hers, she broke hers, she broke hers, Luena, you can break yours. And I hope you'll be inspired from the ladies today. Thank you. And by the way, I wore the high heels for you. I'm gonna go back to my techies and work there. So please don't mind me when I leave. I'm preparing for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Musia, for making us believe in the theme for this year, for National Science Month, Beyond Hidden Figures to Global Impact for a Limitless Future. This, for me, is an invitation for us to go out there, to leave our institutions, go to the next institution, collaborate as women, because we know that as females, we collaborate, we do not compete. So it's an invitation. The barriers are broken, and we will take advantage of that. As a room full of women, when Dr. Mamoeleti said, "Ke setlogolo sa Basia," I just wanted to ululate. So can we just ululate for ourselves, just for being here? And to our brothers who are present, can you please just whistle for us, Nji? Yeah, we may need to practice the whistling. Thank you. We now move on to the dialogue itself, and this will be facilitated by Dr. Kgomotso Mtshatsheni. She is a senior lecturer in the natural sciences under the Faculty of Applied and Computer Sciences at the Vaal University of Technology. She has her PhD in chemistry. She's a dedicated academic, researcher, and mentor whose work embodies the spirit of inclusivity and accessibility promoted by the National Science Month theme, Science, Technology, and Innovation for Everyone. Dr. Kgomotso's research focuses on cutting-edge areas in nanotechnology, photocatalysis, adsorption technologies, and advanced nanomaterials for wastewater treatment. Dr. Mtshatsheni is known for her enthusiasm, motivation, and collaborative spirit. Over to you, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kinsey. Welcome, everyone. Are you happy to be here? Okay, let's start our program. As we convene this afternoon, under the theme Beyond Hidden Figures to Global Impact and Limitless Future, we are celebrating these 4 beautiful women. They are beautiful, aren't they? Yes, what we are going to talk about today, they're just going to share for us their journeys from humble beginnings to influential professional roles, highlighting the experiences and opportunities that shaped their success. and also moving beyond their hidden figures. But now, before we can start with that, I just want to break down the topic for you. It says, Beyond Hidden Figures to Global Impact for Limitless Future. Now, what influenced this topic is the movie Beyond Hidden Figures. I don't know how many of you have watched the movie, but it's a beautiful movie. Now, what does it really refer to? It's moving past the era where contributions of talented individuals, especially women, were regarded as nothing because they were minority and also they were underrepresented and they were unnoticed, undervalued or excluded from mainstream recognition. And then now they go to global impact. This one emphasizes creating meaningful change that extends beyond local or national boundaries, influencing societies, industries, technology, science, education, and sustainable development worldwide. And they are going for a limitless future. This one, we represent a vision where barriers are actually are no longer restricted for people's potential, specifically women, and we allow them to actually innovate, to lead, to thrive without limits. Welcome to our dialogue. I'm going to start by introducing our panel member. I will start with the one next to me, Mrs. Andy Mampe. She's a chemist, an agricultural entrepreneur, and owner of Pulane, a diversified farming enterprise. She also provides agricultural insurance assessment services for Land Bank and holds leadership roles in agricultural education and cooperative development. Clap hands for Mrs. Andy Mampe. The second one is our own Professor Anneke de Klerk. She's an associate professor at VUT with over 25 years of experience in photography and research. Her work explores landscape photography, human experience, and technology's influence on perception. She leads creative research projects, serves as a president, underline it, president of DEFSA, and coordinates EU-funded Metaverse Academy initiative. Welcome, Prof. Anneke. The next one is Dr. Molokwane, our own nuclear physics, right? A woman, a nuclear physicist, right? Dr. Molokwane is a nuclear physicist and environmental specialist with over 21 years of experience in water, energy, environmental systems. She serves in South Africa's National Planning Commission. She is recognized among the top 100 nuclear energy professionals. She has published over 3 research papers, and she's an accomplished ultra-marathon runner. The next one is Dr. Tara Walmsley. Now this one I must shine. She comes from the Faculty of Applied and Computer Science. Dr. Tara, she's a senior lecturer and team leader in the Agricultural and Environmental Biotechnology at VUT. Her research focuses on sustainable agriculture, water treatment, bioremediation, green energy, and developing practical solutions to environmental and agricultural challenges. Welcome, Dr. Tara. Wow, I love the energy. Welcome, my panel members. I think now you feel at home. We can start, right? Okay, I'm going to start with the first question, whereby I would love all of you to answer it, right? The first question is, can you share your personal journey from your early beginnings to your current professional role, and what inspired you along the way?
Thank you, Dr. Mtshatsheni. My journey has been a blend of unusual chemistry and agriculture. I grew up as a curious child, trying to find solutions in everything that I was trying, which ended up for me graduating as an atmospheric scientist, completing my master's. I worked in various companies, research institutes, and the last company that I worked at was animal feed producing company, NutriFeeds. I worked as a senior technical officer in the lab. Compliance was one of my jobs. But one interesting aspect happened in the company. My fellow colleagues, we decided to start a stokvel. The stokvel, the reward was not money, it was livestock. You chose if you wanted to have cattle, pigs, sheep, goats, whatever you wanted. I chose pigs. I got home, told my husband, we're starting a piggery. I went and leased a farm in nearby village in Potchefstroom. The piggery grew. My interest was ignited. I decided to quit my job. I quit my job in 2018. I decided, let me go and register diploma in agriculture. 2020, I decided, let me move from that small farm that I was leasing to go to a bigger farm in Ventersdorp. The farm that I'm now working in is 600 hectares. I'm planting white maize, and I've got livestock. I still have piggery. My daughter has now introduced layer chickens, and is thriving. Thank you.
Sure, wow, how to follow that inspiring story. So I grew up, I had the privilege to grow up in various places. I lived in different countries, and I think I can echo that, being a curious child from very early on. And when it came to choosing a field to go and study, it was so difficult to choose because I was just interested in everything. So I figured if I did photography, I could photograph everything. So I was also interested in the arts, and photography is one of those fields that really bridges creativity, science, and technology. And that really just kept me interested and engaged for as long as needed to be. And it still does. I think the advances in technology these days have really made things so much more interesting. So, yes, I'm a photographer. I studied photography, But photography is also part of the design fields. So we see photography as just one of the many creative disciplines. And a turning point in my career has been the invitation that I received to be part of an international project. And we wrote a proposal together, and it was successful. And now a lot of my research and also activities has to do with virtual reality, augmented reality, and also mixed reality. And I'm looking at how to bring photography into that space. And then, yeah, I also do research with communities to see how we can introduce new technologies in communities. And I think there's so much opportunity if we can be technologically literate. There's so many entrepreneurial opportunities as well. So those are the areas that I'm interested in at the moment. And just a quick note, the creative disciplines being included in this illustrious company, I'm really excited to be the A in STEAM. Yeah. No longer just STEM, STEAM, yeah. The A brings everything together because all of these disciplines are also creative.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, good afternoon. It's so cold, it would make one think it's morning. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Dr. Mtshatsheni, for inviting me. It's good to reconnect with old schoolmates. We are very old. I come from a village in Kgomotso in Lihorutsi near Serest. I went to school there. I walked to school. In the morning, afternoon, in the rain, in everything. Initially, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, like a medical doctor, because I think with limited exposure, I thought this would be the greatest. Fast forward, went to middle school, went to high school, and I got to read a bit about medical practitioners, and I said, no, I'm gonna be bored because I want new challenges every now and then. But I think hindsight, if I had someone who spoke to me about the medical fraternity, I would probably have still done it, but not in the rooms. I would be a researcher still, because I want to figure new things. Then I went to Potchefstroom to do my Bachelor of Science degree. That's where we all met. That time we were taught in Afrikaans, guys. You move from high school being taught maths, physics, and science in English, and then voila, now it's Afrikaans, and you have to pass. It was difficult. It was difficult. Later, I had to pack my small bag as if I'm going home for a weekend, but it was not a weekend. That was year number 3. The university had decided to deregister me because I owed the university 3,900. It was so painful. There's no way I would forget that. By the way, the former minister Pando did release a book that was published by the Department of Science and Technology, and my story is in there as well. I went home, spent the remainder of the year doing nothing, trying to find a job, nothing. The next year came, nothing. And then when the other year started, I said, I'm taking a leap of faith. I want to go back to school. How, I don't know, but God will provide. So I met one lady who was studying at Northwest and said to me, let's just go to the SRC office, you'll sign an acknowledgement of debt, and then you register, commit to paying whenever. Because at least you'd be registered, figure it out, find bursaries in the process. You just need to get into the schooling system or back into the schooling system again. And that's all I wanted. But then what I did at Potchefstroom and what was at Northwest, I couldn't continue. So I had to start a fresh degree. And then I decided the only common thing between the BSc that I'm now having to start and the biochemistry and microbiology that I did in Potchefstroom was maths, physics, and chemistry. So I said, okay, at least those ones I'll carry through and not start from year one. That's how I ended up in the physics space. So I chose to major with physics and chemistry. And I remember my friends coming to visit me, and we went back to campus and they showed me their graduation pictures. My heart bled. My heart bled. And I felt bad that I'm supposed to be excited for them. They are graduated, they've graduated, they're doing their postgrad. But it was just a reminder of how life can be so harsh. But for me, I look back at that situation and I thank God, because I believe God was redirecting my career, albeit in a very harsh way. Went through, did my other degree, finished it, and by the grace of God, got a bursary to do my postgraduate, and it was within a program that was established by the SOCs and the nuclear industry to try bring previously disadvantaged individuals, predominantly Black people or Africans, into the nuclear space. And that's how I ended up in that program. And did my master's and then started working as a nuclear field physicist, and then later as a senior nuclear physicist. Immediately when I finished my master's, I then started working the next year. I decided that I want to do my PhD. So when I started working in 2005, I actually started writing my PhD proposal. No, 2004. Then 2005, I was registered for my PhD, which took a bit of a turn. I wanted to do nuclear waste remediation, but the restrictions around nuclear waste made it a bit difficult, so I eventually had to substitute that with the heavy metal called chromium. So I did my PhD in bioremediation, in situ bioremediation of hexavalent chromium in groundwater aquifers. Whilst I work, and then I got retrenched as soon as I finished my PhD, which was nicely funded by my then employer. But I was excited because then it meant I am free. I don't owe anybody. So I don't have to work my postgraduate diploma, my master's, and my PhD, which they have funded. So lucky, Lord and behold, I got retrenched in September, and the 1st of October, I started working for SASO because when they knew that we were getting retrenched, they asked for the database of all the people in the technical department, only the ones with PhDs. That's SASO for you. And I worked there, but I guess I probably was not a fit. I eventually decided, I got sick because the air around here is not clean. So I used to suffer a lot. I suffered from chronic allergies. So I had to move back to Rosebank, but then my contribution and my passion was diminished by the work that I was doing in the office, and I just felt like I'm just doing the stats here, and I'm not. I don't want to to be a number. So I decided to quit my job. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I needed to leave Sasol. Because I was very unhappy and my health was taking its toll. You know, when you dread driving to work, you know your work will kill you. There's no amount of money that is worth that. And I chose that, and I told myself, if things go bad, I'll take my pensions, start doing this. If they go pear-shaped, I'll sell my house, go to my other small town house, and then I'll build again. But God was good. It didn't happen. In fact, I sit here and I thank God for, you know, giving me being that brave to quit a job. Because when you quit a job without any job, not knowing where you're going, it's very confusing and it can be very challenging. And I remember saying that to my colleagues. They said, but why don't you just find a job before you leave? I said, no. If I'm going to be on antidepressants because I have to deal with some nasty managers, I will not. I'm not gonna wait a day. I resigned. I never even went back to my office. I sent my laptop and my access card with someone else. I never. Whatever that I left, I left. Then I started consulting. And I must say, when you're self-employed, your relationship with money becomes very different because you don't have that guarantee of your 80,000 or 60,000 clocking on the 25th or on the 30th every month. You get to be very disciplined. And that's what I had really appreciated about branching on my own. I continue to add value in my field of expertise. I love being a scientist. Even if I'm not in the lab or in a factory anymore, I still make my influence felt in the boardrooms, in the presidency, where I serve as a commissioner. I have been there for 11 years. My PhD comes from environmental engineering, but I still prefer to be called a nuclear physicist because that's my first love. That's my passion. That's where my heart is. I serve in a few boards. I was at one point at ESCOM. Those who read are on LinkedIn, you can read about me. I'm not in academia, but I am a researcher. I've to date published over 43 peer-reviewed papers, a book chapter, and a few monologues. My change of career has exposed me to traveling the world, and I'm very grateful. There is nothing as fulfilling as a technical person as being in the midst of other professionals who are in other countries, because I have gotten to appreciate the fact that we've got good education here in South Africa. We've got global standard education, so never ever think that because you studied in South Africa, you are less of a qualified person. We will give them, and we give them a run for their bucks. And I am very proud to have chosen to stay at home because my PhD, I was supposed to have done it in the US, but I thought I was going to be homesick. I wasn't ready, so I stayed home. In my changing careers, after my first degree, I went to Stellenbosch to do a master's degree in satellite engineering, which is in the space. But I quit. I think I didn't like it. It was not doing it for me. I'm mentioning this because these are fields that are not talked about and are less known. Space technology is the niche field and is very important. Coincidentally, in my role now with the armaments company of Corporation of South Africa, which is servicing the Defense Force, I am responsible for space technology, which is something that I quit so many years ago. But because science is science, you can still understand. I am back in that space. So for some of you that don't know, still confused what you're gonna do after your first degree, a science degree is a good launching pad. You can end up being anything. You can be an engineer, you can be a space engineer, you can be a satellite engineer. A little bit about that, the space system is the science of launching missiles and rockets, which is something that's going to be very important for those that are watching the news. You see, Iran can fight from a distance. That's the power of space technology. And so if we manufacture nuclear weapons, others can send them through space to reach the target. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know how to follow on from that. Yeah, I also come from a small little town in the Eastern Cape. So I grew up in the Eastern Cape. That's where I lived my whole life. I studied in Grahamstown, which is in the Eastern Cape. And then I got flung across the whole country and landed in Vereniging, of all the places to land. Yeah, so that was I had just got married. I got married when I started my PhD. And yeah, it was a shock. When I say small towns, I mean like Fort Beaufort. Nobody knows about it. And we were not close to anything either. And it was a very agricultural town. We were like 3 houses up from a citrus co-op where they grew all the oranges and archies. My dad was a lecturer at Fort Hare in the agricultural departments. He's an agronomist. And I never thought I would find myself in the agricultural space. You know, children don't always follow in their parents' footsteps. So I decided, no, I'm doing genetics. I'm gonna do genetics. I don't know where I even heard that word before. But I had this thing in my mind, I'm doing genetics. So yeah, I went to Rhodes and I did a basic BSc. We were lucky enough to be able to choose whatever subjects we wanted. So that gives you a really nice platform early on to kind of go into whatever space interests you, which I think as scientists is kind of how we find our way where we go. We're like, oh, this is quite interesting, or oh, actually I found that quite boring, and then you weave your way. So yeah, I did some biological sciences and chemistry, physics, maths, the usual selection, and ended up in chemistry. I actually didn't enjoy microbiology in my undergrad. I found it too much theory. I didn't enjoy learning theory. So I did chemistry and I carried on with chemistry. And then I think you have to be open to the fact that the world is going to just kind of chuck you wherever you need to go, and then make the most of it. I find that if I try and create a space for myself, I fail. So I just have to go wherever it feels like that's where I'm being thrown. So yeah, I ended up in microbiology due to my supervisor throwing me across the road into the microbiology department. And I have really been grateful for that shift. And I was focused on marine microbiology, and then, like I say, I got married when I started my PhD, and my husband had a scholarship with Sasol, and you have to give back your 5 years if you have a bursary there. So that's why we moved to this area. And again, I'm grateful because I would never have just come here. I didn't even know what the Vaal Triangle was. And then, yeah, started working at VUT. And obviously I couldn't do marine microbiology because there's no ocean. So I had to reinvent myself completely. And the nice thing with the sciences, and I think you touched on that, is that I have the skill to learn anything. And I think that's something very powerful that you need to grab hold of already now, is that, for example, I taught chemistry a few years ago. If you put me in front of a chemistry class now, honestly, you would all fail. Like, I cannot remember organic what. I'm like, oh, because you don't have the capacity to hold everything all the time. And you shift as you find different interests. So give me 6 months. Give me 6 months and someone who can teach me, and then I will know it. And don't be scared of that. Don't be scared of having to learn a new thing. Science changes so fast, so you can blink your eyes and things have changed. And you have this immense capacity for learning. Like, as human beings, we are so adaptable. And that's what I've really taken from my journey is, don't be scared when life throws you into some other thing and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to now reinvent the wheel. I had to go into a new space. I went into agriculture and environmental science. And I learned it because it was interesting. And I had the skill set to learn. You're not learning a subject, you're learning how to learn. And that's why I always feel like students cheat themselves when they don't learn how to learn. Giving me a report that's just information and you haven't learned how to learn, you've shot yourself in the foot going forward, because you're always going to be learning. I'm still learning so much. So yeah, my whole journey has been one of just learning new things every day. Every day there's a new thing, and that's, I think, one of the best parts of science, is you are always learning. And it's not scary, it's the joy of it. That's the joy of science. That's been my journey. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. We celebrate your humble beginnings. Today you are top in the world because of what you learned through your journeys. I'm gonna start with Prof. Anneke. You are right, it's no longer STEM, it's STEAM, because art is there where there's creativity. So we need you guys for that creative mind to actually be interdisciplinary, then we can actually do our things together. You are part and parcel of science now. So science, technology, engineering, arts before mathematics. So you are part and parcel of us. And this question now goes to you, Prof. Anneke. What opportunities played a vital role in your photography field, and how did you recognize and seize those opportunities?
Thank you, Dr. Kgomotso, for those kind words. And yes, Dean. I think the essence of the word art, it's actually doing things and applying things practically. It's not, the word art actually comes from making. It's got to do with making something. And I think the place of the A in STEAM is to bring that, let's apply it to solve problems. Let's apply all the knowledge being developed in science, technology, engineering, and maths to make things, and also bring it to people and connect people to technology and science. And I think that's how I see my role. So just to reflect on my journey in photography, I think something that I've heard from everybody else that's been speaking is that there's always a challenge. And then from that challenge, you actually learn and grow and develop into something new. And that's the same in my life. Whenever, I think the people and the situations that have meant the most to me have been those that were difficult. And so I'd really think back or to people that I love to hate, because in that situation you think, I just want to run away. I don't want to deal with this. These challenges are too hard. But then you turn around and you think, okay, but why? Why is this challenge here? And I think those things have really played a role in my life. So I think, photography can be seen as something that you just do. You just press a button and then you've got pictures. And when I started studying photography, I knew a little bit because I loved reading, and so I read a lot about all the art photographers, but I never really realized that it was such an involved thing and that you had to give so much of yourself when you're doing anything creative. And it's probably the same in other fields as well, but I think in the creative fields, you often have to really empty yourself into your work. You can't just regurgitate information. They want you to be creative, and creativity is that. You need to take you within your context and say, what can I make? What can I create that is new and innovative? So photography has changed quite a bit over the years. I think most of the people here might not even know about analog photography. We worked with chemistry and film, and you have had to actually mix your own chemistry and then go through a lot of chemical processes in order to get one single picture, and it took forever. So we went from that, which I grew up in, into digital photography, which was an entire new way of working. And now I think we're shifting into AI that is changing creativity again and image making again. So now I'm going off topic, I think. So that turning point from chemistry and analog to digital was a major turning point. And I think what happened there is that, your relationship with reality changes if you can change something that looks like a photograph in a digital environment. So there's a different form of creativity that happens. So as I grew into, let's call it maturity as a student and a photographer, but also I started lecturing as well, this digital shift happened. And together with that, I realized that I'm more interested in people than in other people than in myself. So, if you're an artist, you often think, okay, let me take my creativity and I need to show the world. But photography offered me the opportunity to actually look at the world and see how I can interpret that and show other people's issues and plights, but also learn from them. So I went into documentary photography. That really changed my life because it really photography allowed me to meet people and really get to know people in a different way and tell stories with them. And that's something that I think really changed the way I thought. And even now today, I think for me, research that can be done in collaboration with others is so much more exciting and interesting than just doing it myself. So that's been a major shift. And then now the latest shift in photography has been to start introducing virtual reality and immersive experiences. So this has been a major learning curve from me. We started in 2024 with the Metaverse Academy, and this is an international consortium. What we're basically doing is developing courses that can be made available for everyone for free online to get a foot into the door of immersive technology, so mixed reality, virtual reality, and augmented reality. So I went from knowing almost nothing about virtual reality to now being able to develop courses that can be offered, and also starting to bring those technologies into my own research. So yeah, technology changes so much, and if you're able to move with the times, then you can actually grow. And yeah, sometimes you just have to say yes. I mean, I didn't know anything about virtual reality. I really thought, okay, is this now going into a totally different direction? Because how does it even relate to photography? But something just said to me, photography has always been about changing technology. It's not about sticking to one technology. So I was able to say yes when the invitation came. And this meant that I needed to, all of a sudden, double my workload. I needed to commit to working after hours through the night because the time is always limited. And so it was a huge decision, but I think that, sometimes we just need to say yes. Opportunities come knocking, and if you're scared, you're going to say no. But if you believe that, yes, I can learn this, then you can actually step up and take an opportunity. In entrepreneurship, they always teach students, say yes, and then you figure out how to do it afterwards. It doesn't always work, but often it does work. If you're willing to put in that effort and time, that's actually a major component. Is you need to be willing to go that extra mile and even further.
Thank you so much. If you were to ask me about photography, I will tell you it's a camera and a video. So it's very interesting to learn so many things from your career or from your profession. Okay, Miss Andy, how do you navigate social and cultural challenges while maintaining your professional identity in the agricultural space? Because we know it is male dominant.
Thank you, Dr. Mtshatsheni. We know that agriculture is rooted in history. Male-dominated, white. But for me to navigate that social and cultural, first thing I told myself, I'm going to speak the language. Afrikaans is the language. I'm telling you, it worked for me. The mentor that I had when I was doing my third year couldn't speak a single word in English. But I told myself, I'm here to learn. He taught me so much. Farm management, livestock management, vaccination, record keeping, I learned so much from him. He even helped me to make a business plan. Today I am here because I got through by learning the language. So socially, don't be scared to approach somebody to ask questions. Even if you can speak Afrikaans, it is so rotten. Try. Try, it's going to work. I'm telling you, it worked for me. And be brave to ask questions if need be. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Did you hear, guys? Speak any language. We've got 11 languages in South Africa. So if you learn any language, you are able to approach anybody. Dr. Pulane said in our first day, we were taught in Afrikaans. My first time in my physics class, the lecturer said, "Pitoni machtue." I was so lost. When I go for translation, it's pi squared. So you can imagine. So any language, as long as you are determined to learn. Yes. Dr. P, in what no, how have your family and community influenced your growth? Being a nuclear physicist, you've told us your challenges and how you navigated. So how did your family and your community influence you in the career that you took?
Thank you, Dr. Mtshatsheni. Talking about Prof. Anneke, one day he put his feet on top of the desk in the front to tie his tekkies and said, "Medul es om de sorg that stupid man said dob." Did I leave class so confused? Like, he really wants us to fail. Meantime, there's literally 4 or 5 of us in a huge hall. The intimidation. But we learn. The one thing that kept me going in my life was failure was not an option. My ticket out of poverty was education. So I didn't have alternatives. No husband, no nothing. It was just education. And largely, I credit my mother for that because she has always reminded me that you need to go to school, be able to do things for yourself. I wish I had gone to school. I couldn't, but I prayed that God gives me a child that will make me a person one day. And I couldn't let her down. Doing a PhD was not in my plans. But when I graduated my first degree, she asked me, "Those ones with the red gowns, what is it?" I said, "It's a PhD." He says, "What is it?" I said, "It's a doctorate, like the one my uncle has, but my mother doesn't because my mother didn't go for her brother's graduation." And says, "Oh, so how different is it with this yours that is black?" I said, "That's the highest qualification you can have." And she looked at me and said, "You must have it." So that's why even in my acknowledgements in my PhD thesis, I'm saying, "Mama, here's the red gown that you've been waiting for." So it's those kind of small things, because I look back, I'm like, my mother planted a seed. Maybe I was paid quite well in my first job. I didn't have to do a PhD. I remember when I used to be frustrated with my supervisor, I used to tell him, I want a PhD. I don't need it. I can get into my X5 and go back to my office. And he says, "No, you're not going to do that. You are going to finish." So it's those, and sometimes sounds like just casual talks. Go do it. And you sit back, and I thought, yeah, I could still not have done my PhD. My mother would not have taken issue with it. But I'm like, yeah, why not? I'm going to do it. So I went after my master's. I'm like, I'm going. The other thing that I have really, that has motivated what I can even call my success is how I see the younger people that I come across in different mentorship programs that I'm involved in look at me and believe in themselves. I was so touched when one of the younger ladies the electrician who was doing the solar system at my home, introduced her to me and said, "Just meet, go have tea." She's a very curious and hardworking young woman. We met, we talked, took me through her journey, her career, and what she wants to do. One day she said to me, "I got so encouraged talking to you, I want to do my PhD." And she did her PhD and she graduated. When I congratulated her on LinkedIn, she goes like, "You are the reason I have this PhD. You motivated me." Because if there's something that I can do, it's just to show another black child that it's possible. It doesn't matter where you come from. You will sit in the rooms with the kings all over the world. And sometimes it amazes me how God has given me access to rooms that by no chance you'd not have access to if you did not, just push a bit. Yeah, life will always throw stones at you and you get so discouraged, but don't stay there. You stand up and move. That's my journey. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. P. I'm glad I've got my students here. So they are taking a note. Okay, Dr. Tara, you came to Vereeniging. It was a shock. You also had to change in terms of your career path. Now, in what ways have you broken barriers from from chemistry to microbiology, because you are a biotechnologist now, right? And what motivated you to push beyond these limits?
I feel like I have to delve into some philosophy now. I think getting flung into Vereeniging was a wake-up call for where there is change that is really needed in South Africa. I went from doing very blue sky research. We were collecting sea sponges from the Marian Island off Antarctica. It was very fancy sounding, but at the core of it, did it solve real world problems that I was seeing with my own eyes? And I think the contextualization of being thrown from the Eastern Cape, where honestly, it's very small and there's nothing much happening, but it's clean and it's beautiful and the air is clean, the water is clean, and you get thrown across into into the Vaal Triangle. And honestly, it was an emotional shock for me. I took strain the first few years, I think, psychologically, especially in winter. It's dead and it's dry and it's cold, and there's pollution. The air pollution is terrible, and the fires, and the river is dry. And I think it really shocked me how little we are doing to overcome these horrific circumstances that we are putting ourselves into by not caring for our country, actually. It sounds very like what I'm supposed to say, but that is the truth. And it was the visuals of that really struck a chord, that we can do so much on our own doorstep with what we know. And I'm not sure who mentioned it, but we know a lot as South Africans. We really do. Our education system is actually very good, and we are very adaptable, and we don't believe it about ourselves. And I think, again, that's one of the narratives that I had, is that I never really tried something until somebody else said, why don't you go and do that? Or not even that. They were like, I didn't want to do a PhD. I was tired. It's hard. Research is very hard. It's physically hard as well. Hustling in a lab, it takes its physical toll, You're exposed to a lot of toxins. You're exposed to a lot of stuff. And so I wanted to quit at the end of my master's, and my master's supervisor said to me, I'll write up your master's, and I did, and she took it, and she submitted it to upgrade my master's to a PhD. She did not let me graduate with a master's because she was like, no, you are going to, there is more. And I'm very grateful. I was very angry at the time, but I'm very grateful now. And I think that's sometimes what you need. You need someone else to look at you and say, and I think as South Africans, we really need to do that for each other, to look at each other and say, you are so much more capable than you give yourself credit for. It's the truth. Because we are very self-critical, we are very harsh on ourselves. We look in the mirror, we find all the faults. It makes you a very good scientist. We are taught to do that as scientists, but also flip it around. And what would you say to your friend? What do you see in your friend? We see such greatness in our colleagues. We don't see it in ourselves. And I think that's a lot of the breakthroughs that I've had, and a lot of the courage that I've had to, like you said, do stuff where you think, I actually don't know anything about this. I don't know why this person is even asking me. They see so much more in you than you do. Trust them and just say yes and learn. Yeah. So that's the biggest breakthroughs have been that. And I think in research you have to find your space that you are, that you feel that you're contributing. We are creative. My children do art, and the art teacher said, because I said to her, I'm not creative. And she said, you're not artistic, but you're very creative. Being able to draw a flower and being able to create knowledge are not the same thing, you know? And I was like, wow, that is profound. So I think find the space where you want to contribute and where you want to create knowledge, where you think it's going to have the most impact, and pursue it. And 9 times out of 10, it's the thing that you see every day. If you walk down the road, I live near the Vaal River, it's filthy, I see it every day. That is the thing that keeps me awake at night. That is the thing I want to clean, because I see it every day. And that's where we can draw a lot of our courage from, is what do you want to see change where you are. That's where you have the most influences, where you are.
Yeah, beautiful, well explained, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Miss Andy, I've got young students here. Most of them are doing engineering and analytical chemistry, right? How would you empower them with your knowledge to pursue this agricultural profession? Because this is the first time they hear that as a woman, you can actually own a farm as long as you have passion about it.
The first question you have to ask yourself is the why. The purpose of why do you want to do agriculture? Are you forced into it, or is it something that you love? Do you love working with your hands, or do you love doing something different from that? And if it's the opposite, don't do agriculture. You stay a lot of time in the sun, you work with your hand. It's physical labor. But I remember again, I had a professor when I was doing my master's, Prof. Pinar. He said, there's a mentor that he lives with, is a 4 Fs. The first F, you have to be fast. You have to grab the opportunities being given to you. The second one, you have to be focused. Being focused, you have to plan. You have to execute, and then going to get the reward for that. The fourth one, you have to be flexible. There are changes that is happening in agriculture. We are now changing the machinery that we are using. We don't want to disturb the soil. We plant cover crops. Those things were not done by our previous farmers. So be able to be flexible. The last one, be friendly. The last F, be friendly. Make friends. Create networks. You won't be able to pass if you don't have friends. Make sure you create networks. That's going to be easy for you to pass this degree. Thank you.
Wow. My dear students, I hope you learned, right? Miss P, Dr. P, you said you traveled the world. My question to you is, how would you advise an individual coming from a humble beginning, like you said in your story, who aspire to make a global impact?
Do the best with what you have first. My exposure came from me wanting to write papers, which sounded more academic because I'm a researcher, or I was a researcher then. And I started knowing that there are people in other parts of the world that are doing similar kind of work. And then I learned that there are actually conferences of like-minded people. My previous employer used to have this arrangement of if you write a paper and it gets accepted into a peer-reviewed conference, they will fund your trip. It doesn't matter where it is in the world. So I capitalized on that. I literally used to travel every other month, but it meant I needed to be writing papers every other month. That's why when I graduated my PhD, I had 26 peer-reviewed papers already. So, and once you do that, you get to love it, you get to like it, and you make relationships. You can have an intelligent conversation with your other peers. And I guess that interest has now even come into my personal life because I love traveling, not just for work and not just to go be in conferences or in seminars with like-minded professionals, but I love seeing the world. I also believe traveling gives you a different perspective to life. You view things very differently. I've also seen it with Omo, my little girl who is now my travel buddy. Once she got a bit older, like 8, 9, and started, I think the earlier trips when she was 3, 4, they did not register. But when she reached age of 8, 9, she started wanting, seeing the difference of how people live in Europe, how people live here, how people live in other African countries, and how people live here. And I can say it has actually shaped what she is doing. She told me one day when we came back from Paris that I think I want to do French. I'm like, okay, you are already in grade, 4? I said, are you serious? And it says, yes. So she started going on to Duolingo, whatever they call it, and said, you must find me a school, either the one that teaches Spanish or French. And I did that. And she literally, first term, scored an A+. That's the will. And I don't think she would have opted and wanted to be at an international school if it wasn't because of the traveling. So, as we did not have parents or relatives that could expose us to that, but I created that world for myself by trying to just be good at what I had. I had my little experiments, I had my research, and I actually wrote papers and sent them to the world, and I followed them.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. My take from that is, with the little that you have, make the best out of it. My DVC, I have to acknowledge you here. You always say that, and maybe you don't know, but in the meetings that we attend, you always say, people, with the little that you have, let us make something. So we acknowledge that, because now we learn to know that complaint doesn't really help, because we can stay the whole day complaining. But with the little that we have, we should actually say, let's make the best out of it. Big ups to you. Okay. I think we've come to the last round, but I want all of you to answer this question for me as we close the questions, and then I open the floor for questions. If you can prepare maybe 3 questions on the floor, we can take. In what way do you continue to grow and evolve in your field in this increasingly complex world?
For me, it's attending seminars, attending workshops, reading, and mentoring other young girls.
think my students motivate me to learn more. Whenever I work with a student's project, I need to learn what they're learning, and that is fascinating. So working with students and working with other people, they drive me. I have to, and that's one of my favorite parts of what I do. So each master's project, each PhD project is something, a new world that opens to me. And I think also, becoming involved with organizations, working with other people in groups together, you always get so many different perspectives that show up where you're lacking and, inspire you to also go and find out more. And I think, I suppose, that's mainly, over and above what she already said. So, yeah.
I believe having conversation with like-minded people helps. Academics, researchers, innovators are always having something in their heads. So having, whether it's at conferences, whether it's at workshops, or whether it's at any gathering or webinars, can actually help you to grow. And that also is not just growing, but you also remain relevant in the field. It's like publishing. You always knowing what is the latest in the field, what other people are doing, any other developments, because the world is moving very, very fast. I was saying to some people over the weekend that I worry about AI and ChatGPT and all these kind of things. For the record, I don't have any of those. I don't even know how ChatGPT works. I come from an old school where you read and write. All the drawings in my PhD thesis, even if I was taking from a reference or a book, I had to draw them myself. My supervisor said he does not want copying and pasting because when you print, the reproduction the quality becomes so bad. So I had to draw them. So I'm that old-fashioned. Because I think with the overusing of technology, we're going to have a nation of kids that are very lazy, can't apply their mind because AI can do it for them. And I hope we will find other ways of stimulating thinking in our children. I mean, Omo is just 11 years old, and every time I say this is, Mommy, and he goes onto the phone and see AI saying, that's my worry, because now you can get it from AI. You don't necessarily see the need to be in the same room with people and talk, like have stimulating conversations about the developments, not just in science, but in everything, because science does not exist in a vacuum. It's part of a global and a mix of so many things. And just your people skills as a person, because you need to relate with people. There are people who are very nerdy, who are very smart, and very intelligent, but the social skills are non-existent. And it can't be balanced, it can't be normal if it's like that. So I think interactions with other professionals, and even if they are not in your field, you may just actually have a conversation with someone who's doing something very different, and it can trigger something out of you. And you can decide like, wow, I think that's interesting. Go read about it. And before you know it, you have quit your medical career, like one lady I read about, and went back to school. Quit your engineering career and went back to school to do medicine because she feels like, no, I think I want to be there. And at times, those kind of things that you hit by chance become something that really could actually be the world for you. I come from that. I would never have thought that I'll be in the nuclear environment because I didn't even know about it. But when people came to school and they say, oh, they are visiting the university, there's this, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's go and listen. And it came from, I hope they are giving bursaries because that's all I wanted. And then, yes, they give bursaries, and here am I, and I've been very happy with that kind of curiosity of just wanting to go see and hear what they are saying if they are giving us bursaries, and we are here today. Thank you.
Yeah, if I reflect on the process that I've had, I think what I come back to continuously is that you cannot beat a fundamental thing done well. You cannot beat it. And if you have really good foundational understanding of your area, very fundamentally, and you execute those fundamentals really well, the technology is the cherry on top. It's the fluff. It's the analysis that's now very fancy. But that is all meaningless if your fundamentals are lacking. And as we advance with all, I mean, in the biological field, in chemistry, AI aside, it is unbelievable how quickly technology is changing. And it is overwhelming. You get caught up in a project. By the time you've pulled your head out of that project, the world has changed. It is almost impossible to keep up with it. And at the end of the day, fundamentally, what is the knowledge you are trying to generate? What is the problem you are trying to fix? Stick to it. You will find that technology when you're ready. When you're writing your article, when you're publishing, when you're busy with your end of your thesis, it's tempting to get caught up in it too early on and allow it to change your logical and your thinking process in the design of your experiments. And I think that's where AI makes me very frightened as well. There's a word called a sycophant. It's an English word. It's one of my favorite words because it just sounds so scary. But a sycophant is somebody who follows you around and tells you what you want to hear. So kings have sycophants. They have people that follow them around and say, oh, you're so beautiful and you're so wonderful and everything you say is truth. AI is a sycophant. It is a sycophant for each of us individually. It tells us exactly what we want to hear, and it tailors it to who it thinks we are. It does not challenge us intellectually. It does not question our thinking process. And it's very dangerous in terms of our development psychologically as human beings. We need to be challenged by each other. We need to be told we're wrong. We need to be shooken from our high horse and thrown off into the mud. Otherwise, we do not grow. And I think that's intellectually what frightens me about AI is if you ask it two opposing questions, it will tell you both times that you're right. And you cannot be right both times. So in addressing that process in terms of development of technology going forward, critical thinking is very important. I am more intelligent than AI. And I'm not being arrogant about it. I am. I am more intelligent. I have a human brain. It's a million times more powerful than AI. And I can create knowledge. And I can question myself. I can self-reflect. And I think we really have to cling to that and not be, and it's like the king, you get these parables with people in their golden clothing and whatever. Don't forget that. I have arguments with my colleagues constantly and they're like, Tara, and I'm like, but you are more clever than AI and you are better and your thoughts are better. And I think it's a phase. I think we're going to get over it. We're going to, in a year's time, already if I see an AI-generated image, I'm irritated. It's so fake and I'm so tired of it and I'd rather you just drew a little sketch with a stick man. I think there's a time and a place for things, but we have to be the ones driving it, and we have to be the ones in control, and that takes confidence, and it takes a trust in fundamentals and in our ability to think and create. The rest is fluff, it will come.
Thank you so much. I'm happy for all your contributions here because I've got students here that use AI for assignments, for projects, And when you tell them that, but I'm going to check if was it a copy paste, they look at you with big eyes, and you didn't think that your student have big eyes. All right, my dearest panel, let me thank you for so much insight and significant contributions to everything that we have said today. But I also want to thank DSTI NRF for this opportunity. We wouldn't have heard about you if this was not this time and this opportunity.